Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is part 4 of the TryHackMe SQHell walkthrough. In this video, we are going after flag 4. Again, I'm not following order of the room. For example, part 3 video was retrieving the third flag, not the second flag. But, the flag itself tells us which is useful, okay? And this part is similar to the part 3. Very interesting because the injection is not only about dumping data directly. We will see that the application seems to be using the result of one query inside another query. I mean like a for loop, in a for loop. And this, this flag involves two queries, one inside another. And so we need to understand the page behavior carefully, otherwise we cannot get this flag back. Again, we are doing everything manually, no SQLMap. So then we can head over to Linux VM. And the vulnerability lies in the user directory, what we have already found in the part 1 of this series. Okay? So user, hit enter. It's reachable or not? Let me ping. Yeah, it's reachable. Oh, maybe I can close up the Bubble Suite for now. And then we can access this user directory. Missing parameter. This means we need to pass parameter ID like a 1. And so this can display information of the user which corresponds to ID 1. Okay? And the posts of this user. So how about 2? Cannot find user. So this means, there is only one normal user. One, not a normal, just one user, admin. So the backend query might look something like this. Select something from users or where user ID or ID to 1. Okay? If the ID value is directly inserted into the query, then we may be able to inject SQL. So now let's test it. First, as usual, we need to find how many columns are returned by the original query. And we can use order by. Okay, so let me go to the browser. 1 and order by like 3. No error, right? And how about 4? But this time we didn't get the error like unknown column. We get a different response. Cannot find user. But again, this can tell us there are 3 columns, or at least 3 columns, right? Or, sorry, exactly 3 columns. Okay, so this means any union select, we have already been using this union select a lot, right? in the part 2. So, just I said in the part 2 video, knowing number of columns would be the basis for running SQL statement like UNION select. Okay, so for example, let's test a simple UNION injection. We can put UNION select like 1, 2, 3. Okay, and hit enter, and we can get 1, 2, 3. Maybe we can put ABC instead. Or use a bigger number, ABC. So just I said, we need to know how the web page is behaving. Although no error returned from the application, but ABC are not displayed. I mean, the injected information does not appear on the page. Maybe we can try some ID which doesn't exist. Yeah, this time our injected payload has been displayed on the page, but not C. A and B appear, but C does not. So this tells us which columns are visible in the page output. But there is something else interesting. The posts section does not display normally. So the application may be doing something like this one. The first query, select something from users with user ID. And then it takes the user ID from the result and use it in a second query. For example, like select from posts where user ID. Okay? So the value we inject into the first column may later be used in another SQL query. This is the important behavior we need to abuse or manipulate. Let's test this idea. So we can try to run like UNION select 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So even though the 3, or maybe we can put a very large number. Even though the user ID for tools doesn't exist, the application still display posts for user ID 1. Very weird, right? Because in our injected row, the first selected value is 1. If you change this to 2, for example, 2, and change this 1, and the 2, I don't think it exists. Okay? So no posts. Right? So I think I already made it clear. The application may treat that value as the user ID and use it in the second query. Yes, I mean the result of this query would be used. Used. This one would, the result of this query would be used in the second query. And if the second query receives 2, and of course this user doesn't exist, and the post will not appear because no user whose ID is 2. But if change this to 1 and 2, and the second query receives 1 this time, and it displays posts belonging to user ID 1. And this confirms that the first column from our UNION result affects the second query. So now the question is, can we inject SQL into the second query? Let's try placing another SQL injection payload inside the first column. For example, like put, the put union select 1, and another union select now. Okay. Hit enter. This. Hit enter. No, this doesn't work, right? Most likely, the second query expects more columns, and that increases the number of columns inside the second UNION. For example, like UNION select, select 1, select 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, hit enter, and we can get the first post, second post, and 2, and this works, and we can see value 2 displayed on the post sections. So up to now, we can get 2 important things. First, the second query returns the 4 columns. If we increase this to like 4, we get nothing, right? And the second column is displayed in the application response. The second column is displayed in the application response. And that means if we put the flag in the second column of the second query, we may be able to display it. Okay? For example, you can put like 100. Yeah, 100 is displayed in the application response. So now let's try to extract the flag, and we can run select flag from the flag table, okay. The outer query injects into the user ID page, right? And the first column of the UNION result contains another query SQL injection string. We can press enter. Indeed, we can get the false flag. Okay, the application uses the first column value inside the second query. This is a very nice example because it shows why we should not only look for simple SQL injection. Sometimes the application has multiple queries connected together. The result from the first query may be used inside the second query. I have to admit, this is very complicated, it's not easy to identify or to discover. All right, so let's summarize what we have already done. We found that the user page, the user page, this page is vulnerable or injectable. And then we use auto-bind and discovered the first query returns 3 columns, although the response would be different from the previous video. And then we tested union select and noticed that the first selected value affects the posts section. That suggested a second query was being used. Then we found the second query returns 4 columns. And finally, we place the flag. We can use the normal, the select statement to retrieve the flag. Okay, and then we can copy and submit it to the loom, which should be accurate. Alright, so with that being said, that's pretty much it. I'd like to see you in the next one.